Thank you for being so interested in viewing rare images. Battle of Antietam. Charge of the Iron Brigade, 1862. The Iron Brigade surged through smoke and cannon fire at Antietam, their dark uniforms making them easy marks. In one of the bloodiest single days in American history, over 22,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing. This battlefield would become a symbol of unimaginable sacrifice. The ruins of Richmond, 1865. Once the proud capital of the Confederacy, Richmond lay in smoldering ruins as Union troops marched in. Buildings crumbled, smoke hung in the air, and silence replaced the roar of rebellion. The city's fall signaled not just military defeat, but the end of a divided nation. Battle of Spotsylvania. The trenches at Spotsylvania were soaked in mud and blood, where hand-to-hand combat raged. For days, soldiers fought at such close range that they could feel each other's breath. It was war at its most brutal and most personal. Gettysburg Bayonet Charge. 1st Minnesota Infantry, July 2, 1763. With only a few hundred men, the 1st Minnesota charged a Confederate brigade nearly 5 times their size. They bought precious minutes for Union reinforcements at the cost of 80% casualties. Their courage rewrote the outcome of Gettysburg. Gettysburg. Dead horses of Bigelow's battery. The battery's guns were silenced not by surrender, but by death, of men and beasts alike. The lifeless horses strewn across the field mark, the high cost of holding the Union's left flank. Even the animals bore the weight of war. Soldiers in camp, c. 1860-1865. Behind the front lines, soldiers found fleeting moments of normalcy, laughter, letters, and long nights under canvas. The camaraderie was their shield against despair. For many, camp was where friendships were forged that outlasted war. Soldiers playing cards. 1861-1865. A deck of cards offered brief escape from the horrors around them. These games held more than just stakes. They carried hope, distraction, and shared humanity. Even war couldn't fully erase the need for brotherhood. Company F, 114th Pennsylvania Infantry, Zouaves, 1864. Clad in vibrant North African-inspired uniforms, the Zouaves stood with bayonets drawn, a blend of flair and fury. Their distinct appearance masked the deadly seriousness of their role. These were fighting men, not merely for show. Camp of 31st Pennsylvania Infantry near Washington, 1862. Near the Capitol, tents stretched across the fields as soldiers awaited orders that might change history. The lull before battle was filled with drills, rumors, and reflection. Every man knew that safety here was only temporary. Company Y, 36th Colored Regiment at Chaffin's Farm. African-American soldiers in the 36th Regiment stood not only for the Union, but for freedom itself. Their bravery at Chaffin's Farm shattered racist myths and earned the respect of even doubting generals. These men fought 2 battles, one against the Confederacy and one for dignity. 3 Confederate prisoners. Gettysburg, July 1863. Captured at Gettysburg, their expressions showed fatigue, defiance, and perhaps realization. These were boys turned soldiers, now stripped of weapons and certainty. Behind the lines, the human cost of war came into focus. Building winter quarters, James River, 1861-1869. As cold crept in, soldiers became carpenters, building huts to survive the season. These makeshift homes offered little comfort, but they kept frostbite and death at bay. Winter in the field was a second kind of battle. 5 soldiers. Granted, an African-American youth. 1861 to 1865. A quiet moment on a dirt porch shows 5 Union soldiers resting, with a young black boy nearby. His uncertain place reflects the nation's evolving conscience. Between them lies the uneasy space between freedom and servitude. Lincoln and his generals. After Antietam, 1862, President Lincoln visited the battlefield with weary commanders, their faces lined with doubt and loss. Antietam had given him the moment he needed for the Emancipation Proclamation, but behind the politics lay thousands of graves. General Grant at Cold Harbor, 1864. At Cold Harbor, Grant's face showed the weight of command and the lives it cost. In minutes, thousands of his men fell to Confederate rifles. He later wrote that he regretted ordering the assault more than any other. Portrait of General Robert E. Lee, 1864. Lee sat for this portrait in the waning days of the Confederacy, his eyes distant and heavy. Once revered, he now saw the cause he led crumbling. This was not triumph, it was endurance in the face of inevitable defeat. George B. McClellan, 1861. A master of preparation but hesitant in action, McClellan inspired loyalty and frustration alike. He saw himself as a savior of the Union, but his cautious tactics told another story. In his ambition, he mirrored a divided America. Pinkerton, Lincoln, and McClernand, 1862. This trio combined war, intelligence, and leadership in a single frame. Pinkerton's spies helped Lincoln navigate rebellion, while McClernand pressed for glory. Together, they plotted a war that was fought in shadows as much as on fields. Jefferson Davis, 1862. Davis posed for this portrait as a senator, just before taking the helm of a rebellious South. A man of conviction and contradiction, he led a doomed cause with iron will. History would judge him differently than the statues once did. Lithograph of Davis and his generals, 1861. In this heroic image, Davis stands surrounded by loyal generals, cloaked in myth and fire. But beneath the portraits lay real blood, failed campaigns, and a fractured future. Propaganda cannot hide history's outcome. 21. Field Hospital at Savage Station. In tents stained with blood, surgeons worked without anesthesia or antiseptics. The wounded screamed, prayed, or slipped into silence. This was medicine in war. Brutal, urgent, and far from mercy. Ambulance corps, carrying wounded stretcher-bearers, raced through fields of fire to reach the fallen. Every step was a gamble with death, both for them and their burden. These unsung heroes fought a different kind of battle. Ruined buildings. Through the circular church, Charleston, the charred beams and shattered arches of the circular church framed the destruction of Charleston. Once a city of pride, it now lay in judgment beneath the sky. War had come full circle, touching sanctuary itself. Ruins of the passenger station, Atlanta, 1864. Atlanta's burned-out car shed was a symbol of Sherman's ruthless strategy. Total war left nothing standing, not even the train stations that once bustled with life. The city smoldered, but the Union marched on. Destroyed bridge, North Anna River, 1864. Bridges once connected. Now they are divided. Blown apart to halt advancing armies, this wreckage marked both strategic success and human desperation. Even the landscape bore scars of war. Sherman's Men Destroying Railroad, 1864. Iron rails twisted like ribbons, torn by Sherman's relentless march. His aim was not just to defeat the Confederacy, but to break its spirit. And he did. Mile. By Burning Mile. Civil War Nurses, 1862. Women stepped into roles society had denied them. Healers, caretakers, lifelines. Their hands brought comfort to the dying and hope to the living. In the face of carnage, they embodied quiet courage. Contraband Camp at a Former Seminary, CE, 1863. Once a place of learning, this seminary became refuge for freed slaves, the contrabands of war. Between sermons and survival, they began life anew. Freedom had come, but it carried struggle with it. Group of Contrabands at Fuller's House, 1862. In this photo, formerly enslaved people gather near a home, uncertain yet hopeful. Their faces tell of pain endured and possibility ahead. The war tore them from bondage, but the path forward was theirs to build. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more new videos of rare historical photos. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos.